So, good afternoon, really. It is after lunchtime. And this is when I normally do my one-on-one time with certain kiddos. So, Isaiah is up here on my bed, supposed to be sleeping and closing his eyes for rest time. At night, he still sleeps in the crib, but we have trouble enforcing nap time for some reason. I'm not really sure why. I think part of it is he doesn't want to be alone in the room. And since he is really my only child that still naps on a regular basis, he just doesn't want to be alone. So I found that it's much less frustration for everybody involved if I just put him on my bed and I sit at the end of the bed. This is my bed right here. And I do school. And so today we have Solomon.
Hi.
And we just got in a set that was recommended by our occupational therapist. It is called Handwriting Without Tears. And so we have gotten, we purchased a large set that had a bunch of pieces in it. And so I'm kind of going to go over that. At the same time, I was just working on my calendar while I was waiting for Solomon to come in here after lunch and for all of his materials to be brought to me. So a couple of things we bought. We bought the mat that comes with it, and it has a cute little smiley face up in the corner so that you know how to orient your paper and how to orient your letters. So for those of you that don't know, this is like a handwriting program. And Solomon has apraxia, which is a speech disorder. And it just means that you don't have speech. So what happened was Solomon had regular speech until he was 2. And then at 2 years old, he suffered from a severe and sudden onset case of croup. And he was intubated and sedated and sent to Children's Hospital in Richmond. And he was left sedated for almost 24 hours as they waited for the steroids to make the swelling go down in his throat so he could breathe again. They had trouble intubating him. There's some debate about whether or not the intubation has caused his speech issues or if he had speech issues before. We know that there wasn't any brain damage from lack of oxygen because he understands what we say and he's trying to tell us things and he knows what he's telling us. We just don't always understand it. So he's been in speech. At first they thought it was just an articulation disorder. And well, first they told us that he may be traumatized. And so I was kind of pushed off for a couple months. And then I pushed and we got our speech evaluation and they were like, yeah, his articulation's way off. So they thought he had severe articulation disorder. And then when we did speech 2 times a week for almost a year, and we did all his speech practice at home, and finally our speech therapist in Richmond said right before we moved to Minnesota, I really think this is apraxia. So when you get to Minnesota, you need to have him evaluated. And so we did, and his therapist in Minnesota was wonderful, and she had no problems changing his diagnosis and going on from there. So he did speech, and we added OT because we started to notice certain things like cutting and things would be a little off, and so just to try and keep him caught up, we added in some more therapies, and that's what we've been doing. So here in Florida, and then he went to, in Minnesota, he went to special needs preschool, and that was a half-day program, and then, well, first he went to like the 2 hours, 2 times a week program, but that's really just for articulation. And so once the school system realized that we had changed his diagnosis to apraxia, his teacher, who was a speech and language pathologist, they just called them teachers because they were basically doing group therapy. And she was really instrumental in getting Solomon changed over into the full day program. Well, what they call full day is really a half day program. And then when we moved to Florida, their full day program really is a full day. And so he was going to school along with Julian and Xander, which is why he had uniforms and stuff last year. When we decided to bring our children back home to homeschool, I knew it was going to be difficult, but we have persevered and pushed through, and a lot of our day for Solomon, a lot of his school day is spent working on therapy things. He does memorize a lot of what we learn at CC. He does the presentation portion, and his teacher, her son also has a speech issue, so she's very like adept at understanding him. And so that's what we've done. Other than that, his fine motor skills are delayed. His gross motor skills are okay. So like writing, we still have trouble with. And so that is why they recommended that we go ahead and start this program. So I'm going to show you what comes with it. So I bought a large kit, and I had a lot of pieces that came with it. So like I said, there's the mat, and then here are the hands for Mat Man, which is a character that you can make using the mat and using the wooden pieces. So the wooden pieces, I've been told, are like some of the most important parts of this. So basically what you can do, and then I bought the letter cards. So basically what you can do is you can put the wooden pieces on your card and build them. You can build them on the card, and then once they are efficient at that, good night Isaiah, once they are efficient at that, then they can build it not right on top of the card. They can build it on Mat Man. And there's certain sayings that each letter has so that they know how to do it. And like you see, here's a smiley face in the corner. There's a smiley face in the corner of the mat. And then there are some what they call pre-writing exercises. So you teach them A, then you ask them to point out the A. You show them the A for apple, and you say the different words that start with A. You show them the A on the chalkboard. Oh, I didn't grab our chalkboard. Oh, and then they pick out the A, and then you show them the big A, the little A, the big A, the little A. So that is, oh, and here you would match apple and apple, but there's alligator and ant too. So, and there's one of these for like every letter. And you teach them, in a certain order. And then there is a chalkboard, and then comes with these little chalk pieces. They say that, so they say that little chalk pieces and little golf pencils and things like that cause children to have a more proper grip. And so they start out with chalk pieces and a chalkboard, which you hold up at a slant, because that uses more muscles than up and down. And then it came with little sponge cubes that you can wet, and then you use those to erase the chalkboard. But this is another fine motor skill, because these are tiny little sponges. I mean, I'm sure whenever you put water on them, they fluff up. And then there is Sing, Sound, and Count with Me. This is a CD, and it has different songs on it, like, you know, you would have it kindergarten or wherever. And then this one is kind of the same thing. So get ready for school, sing along, songs and finger plays to promote school readiness. And it has some different songs. This Where Do You Start Your Letters is a song that he knows from school before. This is the Stamp and See set. This is like the little tiny piece of chalk that they write with. Again, the yellow smiley face. There are magnet pieces that are similar to the wooden pieces that we use. And as an example, you can press them that way. It's basically like a magnet doodle with a smiley face in the corner. But it was part of the package set that I got. So there's that. And then there is, this is one of the first books that they have. They have several books. And there are a lot of schools that actually use these programs. I mean, if you look in here, it's like set up for a school program, but they also cater to homeschoolers. And so this program was actually designed by some occupational therapists, which is why our occupational therapists love it so much. So there's just different things as far as like coloring and tracing and making things the right colors and things like that. So I'm going to get started. Oh, and then it comes with a teacher's guide, of course, to kind of tell you where to go and where to start and things like that. So Solomon knows some of this stuff because he has already done it in OT. He's done like the wood piece play and wood pieces with music and stuff like that. So I'm going to jump in and see what he remembers and then try and figure out where we should start. And then here is the little chalkboard that they use with the little chalk bits and the little sponges. So again, it has the smiley face, all to orient them to the right way. So the last thing that we got in our kit was this roll-a-dough letters. And I have to laugh that they say gluten-free because I would have never thought of this until I had a child that was gluten-free. But most dough is flour-based. So Solomon and I are going to go over some of the things. He's already done this with his therapists, and I think his preschool used this too. So we're going to see what he remembers and go from there. You ready?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So the next one is L for lion. Excellent job, Solomon.
Name.
Yes, you have an L in your name. You're right. But is it a capital L or a lowercase L?
Okay. So
Lowercase. You're right. All right. So now we're going to do M. All right. Now we're going to do N. So here's Mommy's example.
all bigs.
All bigs. You're right. All big lines. It's got to stay on your mat. We have to do this angle a little bit smaller to fit this on your mat. There you go. Good job. And what is N listed as? Do you know what that picture is?
Newspaper.
Good job. That was good pronunciation, Solomon. So the next one we're going to do is P.
P.
Can you make that sound again? Excellent.
For popcorn and for pig.
Popcorn and pig, you're right. Good job.